them would mark a sea change in how Britain is viewed in the world. But handled correctly, it could demonstrate that Britain is willing to ditch the colonial mindset for good. For me, the most prescient comment in the debate came from the former Liberal Democrat member for St Ives, Andrew George, who remarked that we can persist in clinging on to the Greek marbles as excuses wear thin until we're forced in some kind of cringe-making and rather shameful climb down to hand them over in some decades to come. That brings us to the twin questions of why this debate and why raise this issue now. Last week, the UK Government published its much-awaited mandate for trade negotiations from the EU. Like many of my colleagues in these benches, I fear for the economic impact of a future trade deal with the EU and my constituents. But Brexit also reveals the delusions of grandeur of this Tory government, as it will expose the power imbalance we face in the negotiations with the EU 27. The EU's own negotiating mandate contained an additional clause calling on both parties in the negotiation to address issues relating to the return or restitution of unlawfully removed cultural objects to their country of origin. It is utterly apparent to me, Mr Speaker, that Brexit will fuel demands for Britain to return the Elgin marbles to Greece. Greece's Culture Minister has left us all in no doubt on their position on the subject, saying that the right conditions have been created for their permanent return. Next year marks 200 years since the Greek uprising against Ottoman rule, so it should be of no surprise to ministers opposite that Athens will be stepping up its demands for the return of the marbles. And no doubt the Minister in her response will boast of the strength of the UK's negotiating position in the talks to come with the EU. I also expect that in her response she will repeat the same intransigent rhetoric that has been a hallmark of their position on the status of the Parthenon sculptures. Yet, as we've seen from this Tory government, throughout the Brexit process, the novel imperialist mindset is akin to the Emperor's new clothes. I fear that